this wonderful Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam class today. We are very, very fortunate. We have His Grace Caru Prabhu today with us, who is Srila Prabhupada's senior disciple. And so I would like to request Sundari Priya Mataji to please share a few words about Prabhuji, and then we can start.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome, Caru Prabhu, to our group of study of Bhagavatam here. We're so delighted to have your association. Some of you may not know Caru Prabhu is a hidden gem in the Western Hemisphere here. And Caru Prabhu actually has traveled all over. He actually was born and brought up in Pennsylvania. And he eventually met Srila Prabhupada in 1970s. And he headed the Sydney Melbourne Temple and did so many projects and welcomed Srila Prabhupada, arranged so many interviews with Srila Prabhupada with the TV personalities, held the other Rath Yatras, then moved to Berkeley with his wife, Vaibhavi Mataji, and till 78, they were directing the life, and they were life members and taking care of all the life members in Los Angeles. And eventually in 1985, he found a land here in Salt Lake City, in Utah, Spanish Fork, for a radio station. And Caru Prabhu's thing was just to spread Krishna consciousness by preaching on the radio. And God has a different plan for Caru Prabhu, and you see that beautiful temple behind Caru Prabhu. That's the Spanish folk temple, the home of Festival of Colors. So Caru, even though his festivals and or his projects are so well known, Caru Prabhu and Mataji are definitely, they don't like to have the limelight, the humility they have, and not having the limelight of themselves. They have hosted so many youth groups and troubled children and animals and farms, that their services are countless, and we are all blessed to be here in Utah, to be under their shelter. So Srila Prabhupada is definitely smiling upon them, and we are so happy that they are here to guide us. So thank you, Prabhuji, for all your services and your hard work. Very cool.
Yes, we'll chant 3 times, everyone, loudly to welcome Prabhuji in our Sangha. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for accepting our kind invitation. With the garland of our words, we welcome you and thank you for your presence. Now you can please start.
Seventh canto, 9th chapter, 43rd verse. Śrīmad Bhagvatam nebabjya paradaratya vaitaranya tadvirya gayanam mahamrita magvanchita sochetato vimukta chetasha indriyavita maya sakaya baram udbhato vimudam. Best of personalities, I am not at all afraid of material existence, for wherever I stay, I am fully absorbed in thoughts of your glories and activities. My concern is only for the fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans for material happiness and maintaining their families, societies, and countries. I am simply concerned with love for them. The material world, Prabhupada says, has been described in the Bhagavad Gita as dukkhalayam, asasvatam, temporary and misery, but these fools are trying to turn the material world into sukhalayam, a place of happiness, not knowing how everything works by the arrangement of material nature, which works in our own way. Prakriti krumanani gunai karmana har sarvasha hankala vivadatma kartahamiti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the 3 modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of activities which are in actuality carried out by nature. There is a plan for material nature, personally known as Durga, to punish the demons. Although the asuras, the godless demons, struggle for existence since they are directly attacked by the goddess Durga, who is well equipped with 10 hands and different types of weapons to punish them. She is carried by her lion carrier, or the modes of passion and ignorance. Everyone struggles very hard to fight through the modes of passion and ignorance and conquer material nature, but at the end, everyone is vanquished by nature's laws. A river known as Vaitaranyi between the material and spiritual worlds, and one must cross this river to reach the other side of the spiritual world. This is an extremely difficult task. As the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, Devi Shugunamayi Matamaya Daratya. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is very difficult to overcome. The same word, Daratya, meaning very difficult, is used here. Therefore, one cannot surpass. Where am I? Lost my place. It's used here. Therefore, one cannot surpass the stringent laws of material nature except by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Nonetheless, although all materialists are baffled in their plans, they try again and again to become happy. Therefore, they've been described as Vimuda, first-class fools. As for Prahlad Maharaj, he was not at all unhappy, for although he was in the material world, he was full of Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Those who are Kṛṣṇa conscious trying to serve the Lord are not unhappy, whereas one who has no assets in Kṛṣṇa consciousness and is struggling for existence is not only foolish but extremely unhappy also. Prahlad Maharaj was happy and unhappy simultaneously. He felt great happiness and transcendental bliss because of his being Kṛṣṇa conscious, and yet he felt great unhappiness for the fools and rascals who make elaborate plans to be happy in this material world. I thought we'd just talk about the first line there, Neva Udvijay. Neva, Eva, Udvijay. Prahlad Maharaj says, I am not at all afraid. That would be a good topic, I think, for this time of fear mongering. We're afraid of losing the economy. We're afraid of losing our health. Some of us might be afraid of losing our jobs. Our businesses might be going down, might have been laid off. So it's important, if you're a devotee, to live not in fear, but to live in faith. There are certainly many reasons to be apprehensive. There are terrorist threats, there's the virus, there are auto accidents, there's gangs, there's drive-by shooting, there's violence in the schools. The cities themselves are less and less safe. But if you're not careful, you can go through your life in fear rather than living in faith. Devotees of the Lord are described by definition as being fearless because of the protection given by the Lord. The Lord assures or reassures his devotees in the third canto. He says personally, Nanyatra Mad Bhagavata, Karana Purushe Suret, Atmanam Sarvabhutanam, Bhayam Tibram Nivartate. Bhayam means fear. So Krishna says the fear, Bhayam Tibram, cannot be allayed, the fear cannot be taken away by any demigod, by any powerful human being, by any politician, by any military leader. The only person who can take away the terrible fear of birth and death is he himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Kṛṣṇa, because he is the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. He's the source of all creation. He's the soul of all souls. So one way to tell that you're a real, tried and true, genuine, sterling devotee of the Lord is that you're not a weak person. You're a strong-minded person. You don't quake and tremble every time you go on Facebook and read all the doom and gloom. Talk to your friends about everything that's wrong. Devotees are characterized by a certain boldness to face whatever it is that life, and behind life, behind the scenes, Krishna himself is throwing at them. As devotees, we're meant to have a posture of courage, because not because of any power that we have, but because being engaged in the service of the Lord protects us, the Lord supports us. I heard about a scrawny 10-year-old boy named Robert who had a knock on his door one day, and there, standing in front of him, was the meanest, toughest kid in the whole neighborhood, who invited him to come on out into the front yard, at which time he was going to beat Robert to, in his words, a bloody pulp. So Robert looked right back into the face of the bully, eye to eye, and he said, "No, you're not." And the bully says, "Oh, what makes you think I'm not? I'm bigger, and I'm stronger, and I'm meaner than you." Robert said, "Well, I know that, but I also know something you don't." "What's that?" The bully sneered. He said, "I know, for instance, that my big brother is just standing inside the door here." So even though Robert was just a scrawny 10-year-old boy, he had a certain boldness, he had a certain courage, because he knew that his brother was there to protect and defend him. And similarly, whenever we tend to give in, to cave to the fear and the doom and gloom, we simply need to recall Krishna's assurance in the 9th canto, 31st verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Tsipram bhavati dharmatma sasvik chantim nigajati konteya pratijanahi name bhakta pranasati. My devotee never perishes. Some people, they're taking preventive measures, taking vitamin C, vitamin D, wearing masks, and all that's well and good. But they're taking their own preventative measures to keep from getting sick. Or maybe they're doing certain things to keep their business above ground, doing extra social media, reaching out, spending more time on the phone. There may be all kinds of leaks in the dam that you personally are trying to stop up. But really, the best and single most powerful thing that you can do to protect yourself and your family members from sickness, from economic loss, financial reversals, is to become the best devotee that you can possibly become, to become indispensable to Lord Krishna's mission in this world. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. And it's not even, I can't even assure you that if you become a devotee, that you won't make enemies because of that simple reason. There was no one more offenseless than Prahlad Maharaj. He saw everyone, Jahi Ashuram, Imambam Chatmaram, Samo Mano Datsva Nasantim. He advised his father, become equal poised. Samo Mano Datsva. Don't think in terms of friends, enemies, and neutral parties. Just think of everyone as part and parcel of Krishna. This was Prahlad's advice to his father, and this was his own mindset as well. He didn't offend anyone, and yet his father took offense and tried to kill him. So if you become a good devotee and you become active and vigorous, you become a courageous, bold preacher, I can't guarantee you that you won't make enemies, but I can guarantee you that Krishna will always protect you. That Krishna will be a shield and a fortress against those who would seek to do you harm. A woman woke up one morning. She heard a pecking sound on the window. And when she looked, she saw a butterfly inside the frame, frantically trying to keep himself away from a sparrow. The butterfly couldn't see the pane of glass, which kept the sparrow from her, which divided her from the sparrow. The butterfly thought she was going to be consumed at any moment by the sparrow, and the sparrow, from his part, thought that he was just that close to having the butterfly as a meal. But between the two was a protective pane of glass. In other words, the danger, the sparrow was that close to the butterfly, and yet the butterfly was perfectly safe, protected by an invisible force shield. Similarly, Krishna or God is between us and the dangers of life. We may not see Krishna. We're going to see the danger. We may not see Krishna. We see the danger. It's coming. It's approaching. It looks horrible. It looks ghastly. It looks lethal. It's so close. It's coming towards us. But Krishna is there. Eko Vyashoda Chayatam Jagaranda Kot Yakshakti Ashti Jagaranda Chaya Andantara Shta Paramanu Chayantara Shtam. We need to remember that Krishna is within the atom. So even it doesn't matter how close the danger is, Krishna is always between you and the danger. So as a devotee, we're not worried about what someone can or cannot do to us, a virus, a drunk driver, a gang member on a shoot-by, because we're always mindful of the fact that we're engaged in the Lord's service, we're a soldier in his army, and he protects his own. He shields them. He's their fortress. Someone might say, Caru, get real. People are getting sick and hurt and dying every day. Does Krishna protect them? Well, if they're devoted to him, he gives them special protection. Just like a king, he has equal regard for all of his subjects, but he has special regard for those with whom he has an intimate connection. So similarly, Kṛṣṇa says, Samoham sarvabhutashu, every living being is my part and parcel. I created them all. I have love for all of them equally. I'm not partial. And yet he also goes on to say, Ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya, maite teshu chapyaham. And yet, having said that, those who render service unto me, they have a special position. They are in me, and I am in them. And they are friends to me. So simply by developing love for and serving Kṛṣṇa in a way that most people are disinterested in, by doing what others are not willing to do. And what am I talking about? Chanting, japa in the morning, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Offering your prasadam, doing some service at the temple. These are not difficult things. Each and every item of devotional service is pleasing and pleasant. But what makes devotional service special is that as easy and as pleasant as it is, and as many unlimited, unimaginable, mind-boggling benefits as come from it, almost nobody will do it. Very few people are interested. Manushanam sahasreshu, because they're fools. Like, what else can you say? They don't have time for Krishna consciousness, but they've got plenty of time for Maya Sukhaya. So if you have time for Krishna consciousness, that sets you head and shoulders above the crowd. And that brings you to the attention of Krishna and the spiritual master. It says, if you are willing to do what others are not willing to do, then you're going to get a result that others aren't going to get. And so you're going to go back to home, back to Godhead in the next life, and you're going to get the full measure of Krishna's protection in this life. It is said that those who live in love live in Krishna, and Krishna lives in them. Krishna protects those who trust and believe in him. He protects them not only in this life, but he also protects them in eternal life. We also have to die. Jatasya hi dhruva mitir, dhruva janma mitasya cha. Everyone who took a birth has to die eventually. Even devotees have to die. But the protection of Krishna extends beyond the loss of this body. We all recently mourned the loss to this world of the wonderful gentleman and preacher Bhakti Caru Swami. And not only did he pass away, but he had to pass the last 10 days of his life in an extremely uncomfortable situation on a ventilator. So someone might say, in fact, I give a class every day, and one of the people that listens to the class wrote in the comment section, well, he's such a great devotee. He chanted so much more than I did, and so much more heartfeltedly, and look how he died. That's not the point. It's not how you die, or it's not the fact that you die. Everybody's going to die in this material world. What's important is, what does Krishna do during your transitional period? And what does Krishna do for a devotee beyond the passage of this body? We have no idea. We don't know. We may say, oh, well, that was a miserable way to pass away. You don't know. He's in Krishna's hands. I'm sure you've heard the example of the cat, the mouse, and the kitten. In the mouth of the cat, the rat, in other words, the non-devotee analogously, he feels cruel death. But in the same mouth of the cat, the devotee feels love. So the devotee is like the kitten in the mouth of the cat, and the non-devotee is like the mouse in the mouth of the cat. All the mouse feels or the rat feels is love, but all the kitten is death, and all the devotee feels is love. So when a great devotee like Bhakti Caru Swami passes away, we can't judge the circumstances of his transitioning by our own limited intelligence. The point is that he's Krishna and Krishna is his, and Krishna promises that his devotee will never perish. So there's nothing lost there. Just an old 75-year-old body is discarded, and he's going to get a new effulgent spiritual body in order to do better service to the Lord. So Kṛṣṇa protects us not only in this life, but he also protects us in the next life. There's never a time when he's not right at your side, shielding you from evils, when you leave, when you return, in the past, now, and in the future. 6th chapter Bhagavad Gita, 30th verse. Yo mam pasati sarvata sarvam chame pasati tasyaham no pranasati sa chame na pranasati. Krishna says, for one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor are you ever lost to me. Some of you out there are living way too worried about safety, about viruses, about accident, about health. Our advice is, don't go around living your life afraid, worried, thinking all the time about what might happen. Listen, if it's not your time to go, you're not going to go. If it's not your time to go, no sickness, no terrorist, no drunk driver has the power to make you go. Why? Because Kṛṣṇa controls the entire universe. Prahlad's father was immensely powerful. He conquered the demigods. He sat on the throne of Indra. He dictated the weather patterns, the rainfall, the seasonal growth. And his son had none of that power, none of the martial arts, none of the diplomatic skills, none of the ability to intimidate and cow the enemies. And this immensely powerful father, with all the advantages, with all the strength, tried to kill his son in so many different ways. He threw him in a pit of snakes. He tried to poison him, threw him off of a cliff. He put him underneath a war elephant. He put him inside the fire. And you know what? At no time was Prahlad even aware that he was in danger. Mahamrita Magna Chitta. He was submerged in an ocean of ecstasy by chanting Hare Krishna. He was not only not afraid, he was not only not worried, he was not even aware that he was in danger. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Later on, when the Shringa asked him for a benediction, he revealed that through the chanting, he already had more than he could possibly ask for, or dream for, or even imagine. So all the while that his father was trying to kill him, rather than being concerned about his own safety and well-being, he was only thinking and praying for the Lord to have mercy on his father's soul. And you may also have a child that you're a little worried about, hanging with the wrong crowd, making bad decisions, getting off course. Or if you're a child, you might have a parent with an anger problem. You might have a spouse suffering from moodiness or depression. The chanting is so powerful that it can not only fulfill your personal desires for relief from stress, hypertension, and to give you safety, but it can deliver those loved ones for whom you have concern as well. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Just as Prahlad's prayer on behalf of his undeserving father proved to be effective, similarly, as a devotee, your prayers for your children, for your spouses, for your parents, they do make a difference. Maybe these objects of your prayers, these for whom you're concerned, don't deserve Krishna's goodness. They don't chant Hare Krishna. They don't take prasadam. They don't have any interest in hearing from you about Krishna consciousness. You've tried, and Lord knows, it just rolls off them like water off of a duck's back. But that doesn't matter, because of your bhakti, because of your goodness, because of your chanting, because of your prayers, Krishna is going to protect them. We read in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he wanted to give Lord Chaitanya a big feast. He said, please come to my house. I want to feed you sumptuously. Lord Chaitanya said, I'm a sannyasi. Don't cook sumptuously. Just all rice, chapati. Sarvabhauma said, no. And I know in Jagannath Puri you eat 56 offerings every day. So I'm going to cook sumptuously. So Lord Chaitanya acquiesced. He went there, and there were all kinds of dishes surrounding him, and he was eating. Sarvabhauma was bringing more. And it was supposed to be just a private tete-a-tete between him and Lord Chaitanya, but some or other, Sarvabhauma's son-in-law, Moga, got in the side door. Moga was a caste of Brahmin. He took one look at Lord Chaitanya surrounded by all these opulent foodstuffs, and he immediately started criticizing. You're supposed to be a sannyasi. You're supposed to live a simple life. You're supposed to eat simple, unspiced foodstuffs. What a pretender. You know, you're one way in public, and here you are in private, stuffing your face. Sarvabhauma got so upset. He took a stick, and he began running after his son-in-law to beat him. Lord Chaitanya didn't take it very seriously. He just laughed and laughed and laughed. Sarvabhauma Acharya got back, and he got down on his knees and did dandavats and apologized. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, there's no need, there's no need. Later on, Amoga got stricken with leprosy. He was on his deathbed. His skin was flaking off of him. And as soon as Lord Chaitanya heard about that, he went right away to Amoga's deathbed. He said, get up and chant Hare Krishna, accept a bona fide guru, and everything will be adjusted. And then he revealed to Sarvabhauma Acharya that everybody in the home of a devotee is dear to me, even the kukuru, even the dog in the house of a devotee. The devotees live with a certain boldness because they are confident of Krishna's protection. Now note that protection is not always dramatic. It's not always so obvious. Most of the protection that we get is not from enemies that are in our faces, but it's from things that are not obvious. Dangers and threats that we didn't see, that we were totally unaware of. I'm sure you've wondered how many thousands of times Krishna has protected your life and those who are close to you from an accident, from a disease, from a wreck on the freeway. He's moved us out of harm's way more times than we can count. And rarely were we ever aware of the fact that he was directing our steps, shielding us from dangers. I heard a story. There were a bunch of workers. They planted dynamite charges in this quarry. They set the dynamite, they lit the fuse, and they ran for cover. But when they looked back across the field, they saw a little 3-year-old boy wandering out into the open field. They knew that any second the dynamite was going to explode. So they were so fearful for the life of this little boy. They began frantically waving, trying to get the little boy to come to them. For his part, the little boy thought they were just being friendly. They were just waving to him. He waved right back with a big smile on his face, and he continued playing right out there in the field. His life was in imminent peril, but none of the workers had the courage to rush out and rescue him because they knew that the dynamite was going to explode at any second. At that point, the boy's little mother came to the scene, and in a glance, she realized what was happening. She didn't call out to her son, or she didn't rush out. In her mother's love and intuition, she just knelt down and opened her arms with a big smile, and she beckoned to the little boy, who immediately, out of love and affection, ran into the embracing arms of his mother. And afterwards, the dynamite exploded, sent a shock wave reverberating off the walls of the canyon. But the little boy was safe in his mother's arms. He never even knew that he'd been in danger. The only thing that he was aware of was the beckoning, open arms of his loving mother. How many times has Krishna guided us from danger through his quiet will, his soft voice, and his sheltering arms? We're not even aware that many times while he's beckoning us away from something or beckoning us to something, he's also taking us away, saving us from being in the wrong place at the wrong time, saving us from some harm or hurt that would have lied in our path had he not altered the course, had he not altered the direction of our steps by his quiet, protective, silent voice coming from within. And we know that hearing about and glorifying the Lord are non-different from the very nature, Bhuta Bhava, of the Lord. And so by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, you're always assured of the intimate, special association of the Lord, as well as the special protection of the Lord. So just go on chanting, never give up, never desert, never abandon your practice of chanting, because that's the avenue, that's the channel through which we access the special mercy of the Lord. Prabhupada had a certain untouchability due to the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In the second canto of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, it said, Tajmad Bharata Sarvatma, he's everywhere. There isn't any place where God is not fully present, even 100% within the atom. Bhagavan Ishvaro Hari. There's no element of this universal created manifestation, big or small, from Brahma down to the little ant, over which he doesn't have complete control. And so therefore our job is not to try to work things out ourselves, not to try to make elaborate arrangements for our own protection. Our job is Shrotavyakyutitavyasta Smartachas Chitadabhayam, is to just go on chanting, go on remembering the Lord, with the result that we will be free from all miseries and we will be protected. Someone says, True, I don't see all this protection. Again, as I mentioned, there's the obvious and dramatic, such as what happened with Prahlad Maharaj. But most times the protection is not so obvious. The fact is, we just don't see all the things that Krishna has protected us from. The times that he's kept us from being at the wrong place at the wrong time. We just need to learn to thank Krishna, not only for what we can see, but we need to thank Krishna for what we can't see. And part of the way that we do that is that we choose to live in faith rather than living in fear. I heard about at one of the shopping centers in Atlanta, Georgia, a man named James Calvin Brady went berserk and he shot 5 people. One of them died. Now, the interesting thing was that in a newspaper interview, Brady acknowledged that in an earlier time, he'd gone to the mall with a gun in his hand, determined to fire 12 bullets and kill 12 people. This was a previous day in the same week. He walked into the mall. He stood before the escalator, planning to shoot the people as they came down. Something happened, however, that day. Something changed his mind, and he put his gun away and he left. Now, my guess is that the people, or at least one of the people who were on the escalator that day, were engaged in devotional service. They never knew their lives were in danger. They rode down the escalator laughing and talking amongst themselves. They thought ahead to the gifts that they would buy or the shops they would enter. They went home, they fixed dinner, they spent time with their families. They went to bed and they had a peaceful night's rest. They didn't have a clue that they'd come that close to dying that previous day, that they were seconds away from death. Simply ask yourself, how many times have we been protected by God and we didn't even know? Mostly protection means direction. Sarvasya chahamridi shanibishta. Krishna is within the heart of all living entities. From him come knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. Something was dictated from within the heart of that killer that day. Don't harm the people coming down this escalator. There is someone on that escalator who is very near and dear to me. And so, taking dictation from within, the killer turned around and left them all on that day. There was someone on that escalator about whom Krishna was saying, I'm not finished with him. I'm not finished with her. I've got things for them to do. I'm protecting the duration of their lifespan. And then someone might further object, well, Caru, if God is so good, why doesn't he prevent accidents sickness, and mass shootings in the first place. In creating us, Kṛṣṇa gave us the greatest gift of all. You know what it is? It's independence, free will. Without free will, we would never know the bliss of loving the Lord. So to prevent us from misusing that free will, he speaks to us from within the heart. He sends us scriptural advice. There are throughout history great saints and sages. There are commandments such as thou shalt not this, thou shalt not that, and thou shalt not do that. So if you want the full protection of the Lord, you have to take his advice through scripture, through saints, through the dictates of your own heart. Krishna's not going to do for you what you can do for yourself. There's plenty of ample light by which we can guide our footsteps on the path we tread. And if we put ourselves right in the middle of what he wants for our lives, the result is that we will not incur any negative karma. We will not incur any misery or suffering at any point in the future of our lives or the lives of our loved ones. Things may happen, challenges may come, but Kṛṣṇa will get us through those challenges unscathed. In the 14th verse, 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, it says, Namam karmani limpati namek karmafala iti mam yobinachir tatpina karma virna iti mam yobina karma virna sabhadyate. That Kṛṣṇa, being the Supreme Lord, his will is law. Gravity is nothing more than his will. He doesn't incur karma. Kṛṣṇa doesn't make bad choices. Every choice, every decision he makes is by definition the absolute and ultimate good for all living beings. But because they are his instruments, they are engaged in his service, they are an extension of God's will in this world. Our Father who art in heaven, our will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That on earth part is us. That's you and me. We represent God here and now, and we do our best to make earth like heaven. For such a person, nachatasman manushashu kastit, there's no one more dear to the Lord. Now, Kṛṣṇa never promised his servants, his spiritual warriors, in this dangerous, imperfect world full of fear, he never promised us that there wouldn't be accidents, that there wouldn't be setbacks, that there wouldn't be challenges, just like the ones that Prahlad had to endure. But it is important to note, however, that while Kṛṣṇa did not stop Prahlad's father from putting him into the fire, Kṛṣṇa did bring Prahlad safely through the fire. You can comb all spiritual literatures, penned since the beginning of the world, and you'll not find a prayer on the part of a single hero of faith asking the Lord not to bring difficulties, not to bring enemies, not to bring challenges. But they all pray, Lord, I'm not afraid of difficulties, I'm not afraid of enemies, I'm not afraid of challenges, but I simply ask that you let me endure, that you don't cease from putting me into the fire, but that you fulfill your promise of always bringing me through the fire, out of the fire. That means that we do have a protector, that we're not going through life alone, just hoping that it all works out. Devotees have a hedge of protection around us, which cannot be penetrated without the personal permission of God. And here's another little extra bit of good news. This hedge of protection, the more that you honor the Lord by chanting his holy names, the thicker that hedge of protection becomes. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I think I'll do it just one more time. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. As you all know from the Mahabharata, the 5 pious sons of Kunti were about to engage in the Kurukshetra war. 4.5 million soldiers, more than half of which, 2/3 of which, were bent and set upon killing Arjuna and his brothers. It was extremely dangerous. It was compared to an ocean of danger with all kinds of lethal creatures, sharks, and tumangilas, and man-of-wars in there. And in fact, except for those 5 Pandava brothers, all the soldiers lost their lives at that Kurukshetra war. Kunti had asked Kṛṣṇa, I know it's going to be dangerous, I know it's going to be precarious, but my request to you is, bring my son safely from one shore of that ocean to the other shore. Be their boat that protects them against Karna, Dushashana, Ashwatthama, Sakuni, Bhisma, Duryodhana. And sure enough, 18 days later, everybody lay smashed and dead, lifeless on the battlefield. But Kunti's 5 sons survived, crossed over, unscathed. At that time, Kunti said about the faithfulness of the Lord to keep his promise to his devotees. She said, one day the moon may grow hot and the sun may grow cold, but Kṛṣṇa will never abandon his devotees. 1,000 enemies may be on the right, 1,000 enemies to the left, but they will not touch a hair on the head of a devotee without Kṛṣṇa's permission. It may get bad. It may look like that's all she wrote. It may look like you're finished, but a devotee is never afraid. He knows that Kṛṣṇa's got him covered, that nothing can happen as long as Kṛṣṇa, no matter how close the enemy is, he knows that Kṛṣṇa is within the atom, that Kṛṣṇa is always between us and the enemy. Devotees, even in the most precarious and dangerous of situations, they don't lose it. They don't panic. They feel secure because Kṛṣṇa is always between them and their trouble. Doesn't matter how close the trouble may come, he provides a hedge of protection for his devotees. During the Kurukshetra war, Karna was looking for Arjuna everywhere. He wanted to face Arjuna. They were rivals, and Karna had vowed that he will kill Arjuna. But the problem was, no matter where Karna went on the battlefield, he couldn't find Arjuna. Kṛṣṇa, as Arjuna's chariot driver and being in the heart of every living being, always managed to have Arjuna somewhere else than where Karna was searching him. And finally, Karna released that lethal javelin at Gatotkacha. And then the next day, Kṛṣṇa and Arjuna showed up before Karna once he was divested of this particular javelin. And at that time, a Naga named I forget what his name was. Anyway, a Naga, Ashwasena, I think his name was. He had a grudge against Arjuna because Arjuna had killed his mother and his brother. So he entered into the quiver of Karna and empowered one of Karna's arrows. He made that arrow an Ashwasena, another infallible weapon. So Karna cut off the bowstring of Arjuna. He broke the harnesses and liberated all the parts of his chariot. He made Arjuna temporarily defenseless and vulnerable. Then he pulled that Ashwasena weapon and he pulled his bow to a full circle and he released it. And it went through the sky like a thunderbolt going to hit a tree. And so confident was Karna of Arjuna being killed by that Nagasena arrow that he shouted, "Arjuna is killed!" And what should happen? It was a certain death for Arjuna. There was no way he could escape. He's right in the path of this weapon. As his chariot driver, Kṛṣṇa put his foot. He pressed down on the chariot, and through the chariot he pressed down on the earth, and he lowered Arjuna 1 cubit, which is about 21 inches. Arjuna was lowered enough that instead of separating his head from his body, that arrow took the crown off of his head, and that crown bounced for hundreds and hundreds of yards. It smashed beyond recognition, and all the valuable jewels were scattered to the 4 directions. But Arjuna stood there with his hands folded, looking at Kṛṣṇa, thanking him. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. when everything's said and done, when the last trumpets blow and the dust finally settles, you'll be able to boldly declare of your life that Kṛṣṇa has been my refuge, my tower, my deliverer, my shield. I have got a hedge of protection around me that no enemy can cross. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. When you talk like that, when those sounds of gratitude and praise enter your mouth, go out from your mouth, you're unstoppable. No enemy can lay a finger on even a hair of your head. I'll finish up with a story I heard about a great fire in Yellowstone Park in the 70s. It was at the time the largest fire that we'd ever had on a national park in the United States of America. Thousands and thousands of acres were burned and charred. And as the park rangers were sifting through the ashes, they came upon a fully mature, a fully developed bird down there on the ground. She'd been overcome by the flames and frozen, petrified. So quickly did the flames run over her that she just stood there like a statue in place. And the rangers speculated as to why it was that she was caught on the ground like that. She would have seen the fire coming from miles away. She had perfectly developed functional wings. She could have just lifted off and risen and flown above the fires. And they couldn't understand how she'd been caught right down there on the ground. And as they were standing there musing, what should happen but from out underneath the wings of that mother bird came 3 or 4 little baby birds, little chicklets. And they had found refuge, they had found shelter, and they had found insulation from the heat of the fire underneath the wings of their mother. And she, on her part, because of her maternal affection for her offspring, she could have flown away and saved her life, but she refused to abandon her babies. Now that maternal sense of affection, paternal sense of affection originates in the cause of all causes, the absolute truth. And no matter how hot the fire, no matter how severe the danger, Kṛṣṇa has promised that he will never abandon us. And he is totally faithful to his promises. So if we do our part and keep him first place in our life, he's going to keep us first place in his life, in his list of priorities. If you love and follow the Lord boldly, without fear, without reservation, trusting in his power, I'm going to tell you, you're never going to be disappointed. He's going to keep you safe in the fire. He's going to lift you up from the ashes, deliver you from the enemies, cause you to be in the right place at the right time. He's going to cover you with his wings. Under the shadow of those wings, you'll find refuge. So our encouragement this morning is, don't live in fear. Get up every morning and say, thank you, Lord, for being my guardian against all evil. Start every day in faith, chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If you do that, he's going to be present to protect you, coming and going, morning and evening, present and future, inside and outside, on land and in fire, now and forever. If you do that, you're going to fulfill your God-given mission in fearlessness and safety in this life, and in the next life, he'll take you back to home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the wonderful class, and your faith is so deep in Krishna and Srila Prabhupada. That's reflected through your words. So we also pray and seek your blessings that we can also develop some fraction of that faith and be free from fear. So thank you so much for your words and inspiration. I see Bhadra Prabhu wants to speak something. Yes, Prabhu, please, you can go ahead.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Charu Prabhu.
I hope.
Accept my obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada.
Prabhupada.
After 30 years, I'm speaking to you. I hope you remember me from LA.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice to hear you. And I've always heard.
You look younger now than you did 30 years ago. How is
You
that?
kidding? I will be 69 in couple of months.
You've got 4 years on me.
You probably remember Vishwambar, the Mayapuris.
Yeah.
He's my son who came to Color Festival first time when you had it.
That was well, it wasn't the first Color Festival, but it was the biggest one, I think in 2012.
Exactly. Well, nice to hear from you. And Rohini Nandan from Boston, he's friend of mine, and we also here. I actually want to invite you. I had spoke Rohini and I invite you because I wanted to organize the Color Festival in Florida. So let's see, probably next year I can, work on that to have you help us to organize big festival.
I can be the MC if you like.
Yes, I like you too.
My expertise is being master of ceremonies at color festivals.
Yes, I love to.
100 of them.
I want to keep that in mind. I would love to have you help me organize. And please, first of all, forgive me for my offenses, because when I started, I know when I started the life membership after you left, I didn't know about your glories. And I must have committed offenses, so please forgive me for that.
You cannot commit offenses to me.
My question to you is that you are speaking with so much deep faith. So much deep faith you are speaking. So how can we get that deep faith in our heart? I mean, after 30 years, 40 years chanting Hare Krishna, doing the services so much, but how can we get that deep faith within our heart? Because when some difficulty comes up, it's not like I'm going to call out to Krishna. I'm not sure about that.
Arjuna didn't feel like fighting. He didn't spontaneously arise to the occasion. In fact, just the opposite. He Kūtastra Kasmanam Vishame Anarya Jasamasvara Kirtim Karam Arjuna. Krishna said, this is Arjuna, you're not acting like yourself. You're not acting like the Arjuna that I know. You're not acting like the Arjuna who's the friend of Krishna who incarnates with him. And so what is the message to all of us here? It is that you say I'm speaking in faith. You say my speaking indicates a great wellspring of faith. But I say to you, you speak it first and then the faith comes. You don't wait for the faith and then speak it. The way you get the faith is you speak it. How I spoke, that's how we have to speak. It's above my level of advancement, but if I continue to speak that way, boldly and confidently, then Krishna is going to make my devotional maturity up to that level, you see. And when it comes up to that level, I'll already be speaking beyond that. Look, Arjuna said, I don't feel like fighting. And Krishna said, doesn't matter what you feel, you go ahead and fight, and then the feelings will come. So the problem with most people is they want the feelings to come before they do anything or before they say anything. But faith consists in saying it and doing it, and then the feelings will come. Rather than being guided by our feelings, someone says, well, I just don't have faith. I can't do that. You do it, and then the faith comes. That's the whole point. We don't feel like going to work on Monday morning, but we do it, and that's how we grow. We don't feel like paying our taxes, but if we didn't pay our taxes, where would the country be? There are many things that we don't feel like doing, but we go ahead and do them anyway, And that's how we build character. So we speak boldly, we believe in Krishna's protection, we represent Kṛṣṇa. Krishna said, Prabhupada used to say, Krishna says, Avajanati mam mudha. And Prabhupada would say, I'm not saying, Krishna's saying. I'm not going to call you a mudha. For myself, you might punch me in the nose. But on Krishna's behalf, you're a mudha. And I'm not saying it, Krishna's saying it. So there's a whole extra level of boldness when you're doing it on Krishna's behalf. And there's a whole level of confidence because you know that even you're calling someone a name, and if you were doing it, yeah, you might get punched in the face. But you're doing it as a representative of Kṛṣṇa, so you have a confidence that Krishna is going to protect you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Would someone like to ask a question, please? Yes, Sudhir Prabhu, you can raise your hand, others, so we can know how many questions we have, and accordingly, Prabhu can address those. Yes, Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Very nice, Krishna Katha. Like Bhadra Prabhu was telling, I mean, the faith is very important, and you demonstrated how we can develop the faith. And even though you don't have faith, you told that, we have to chant. But Prabhuji, that's what I have been doing, even though I don't have much, taste in chanting. Anyway, and you also told about chanting. So how can we develop more taste? Of course, I have faith and I'm chanting, but how can we develop taste for chanting? Any suggestions, Prabhuji? Of course, I'm neophyte, so I'm just asking.
When you do things for Krishna, Krishna reciprocates. Yeyatam mam prapadyate tam sathaiva bhajami ham. So always try to never be static. Always try to be increasing your devotion. Not only the quality, but the quantity. Quantity is important. You may be doing, say, 2 rounds a day and feeling like you don't have a taste. So you don't then go back to 1 round a day. You go to 3 rounds a day. You have faith. You said that yourself. But when you want more faith, you have to some or other demonstrate to Kṛṣṇa that you're worthy of accepting that faith and that you're capable of discharging the extra duties that come from Kṛṣṇa's blessings. And so you always have to put some action behind your words or behind your hopes. It doesn't have to be a huge dramatic action. To get more faith, you don't have to go overnight from 2 rounds to 16 rounds. But I'll tell you what you don't do is you don't back off, you don't lessen your practices, and you don't grandstand, you don't try to capture Krishna's attention and increase your faith at one fell swoop with some dramatic gesture, but you try to figure out in a modest way, in a very doable way, what more you can do. You don't want to overextend yourself. You don't want to do anything you regret. But based on the level of your faith, think, what more can I do? If I'm chanting 2 rounds, I can chant 3 rounds. Krishna will always reciprocate with you. You'll never do something more for Krishna, and he will not reciprocate with you, give you encouragement for that. Too often, we want everything and we want it now. And we're thinking of some dramatic gesture whereby we can in one fell swoop get Krishna's mercy. But there is no shortcut. There's no back door. You have to do it consistently, regularly, and you also have to always be increasing. If you're not increasing, then you're getting stuck. Prabhupada gave the example, honey. As soon as you let it drip on the tabletop, it's going to spread in various directions. So make sure you're not backing. Well, I mean, if If you've taken too big a leap, then you might have to regroup and reassess. But if you've been modestly practicing Krishna consciousness, and you want now to increase your faith, then my advice would be to show Krishna in some tangible way that you want more of his mercy, you want more faith in him, and in a modest way, take on one more responsibility. It might be doing a special service at the temple. It might be taking an old person who has trouble traveling, picking them up on Sunday, bringing them to the temple. Of course, that's not practical nowadays. But there might be, there are millions and millions of little things that you can do to put action behind your words.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. So you're telling that by doing more and more, even though I don't have taste in chanting, right now I'm kind of mechanically chanting, but by doing more and more, automatically the taste will develop, right, Prabhuji? Thank you.
Well, I don't think you would have reached your current level if it was mechanical. It might seem mechanical to you now because maybe you're not increasing. You've been doing the same thing without any expansion for some time. So you may think it's become mechanical, but I don't think you would have got to your level of sadhana unless you had inspiration and motivation up to this point. But what you have to watch out for is stopping your forward progress. Initially, we have a lot of inertia, and it's easy to jump in and maybe even bite off more than we can chew, perhaps. But we have to understand that the guts of devotional service is consistency. Just like what we were talking about earlier, doing things when you don't feel like it. That's when you get the mercy of Krishna. That's when you get his special blessings. So keep moving forward. Don't allow yourself, we all have a period when we have a lot of initial inertia. But then when that initial inertia wears down, we're going to come into a crisis point. And we're going to need to learn how to encourage ourselves. And we need to learn how to motivate ourselves. And that's going to come about by taking small, crucial actions to increase our service and to keep moving forward. And honestly, it's not a big thing. It's not a big thing. Every time you pick up a piece of trash on the temple grounds, Krishna notices that. Every time you pick up a broom and clean off the welcome mat because it's got straw and debris, because you want to give a good impression for first-time visitors. Every time you do the slightest little service, again, what I said was, you come to Krishna's notice when you do what others are not willing to do. So even among devotees, how many walk past a piece of trash? How many are not willing to clean the sink after they wash their hands in the temple bathroom? How many are not willing to serve out prasadam instead of sit and be served? Ask yourself these kinds of questions. What are others doing, not doing, that I can do? And make it not a big thing, but a small thing. Krishna's aware, he's in the atom, he's aware of each and every thing. So show him, demonstrate to him what it is that you can do that maybe others can't do, because he's made you unique. He's invested talents and abilities in you. So how can you be the you that Krishna created you to be? And if you move in that direction, you'll never have a problem with your chanting being mechanical or losing your enthusiasm.
Haribol. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Wonderful answer. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, Vamsi Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much for the wonderful class and about fearlessness by taking refuge of Krishna and increasing our faith. So the one dilemma and confusion I have is from my own experience, Prabhuji. So sometimes I feel that the fearlessness I have is more arrogance than actually faith. And why I say that is one example where I was trying to organize a Rath Yatra in Memphis, Tennessee for the first time, and everything fell into place. And this was the time when everything was open and is about to close down. So there was a confusion whether we should call it off or we should still have it. And there were some senior Vaishnavas who were trying to protect their health. So in my mind, I made a Vaishnava offense thinking, hey, these guys are fearing the virus more than serving Krishna. But we should go ahead and do this anyway. But then finally, the government themselves shut everything down, so we couldn't have the festival. So the question I have is, how can we know the difference between fearlessness in faith and arrogance by our own ego, because we think that we are great, we are trying to do something in Krishna's service, but it is not really our faith that's doing it. It is, we want to move on because we are a little arrogant.
Everybody has a different personality, and I can just see from looking at you and hearing you, you're more like a Kshatriya. Am I wrong? Right? So, you know, you have Yudhisthira, who is reticent and cautious, and you have Bhisma, who is impetuous and impulsive, and they were both pure devotees. They were both pure devotees. There isn't like one set answer. There isn't one personality type who's a pure devotee, and then there are other personality types that aren't. Krishna consciousness is all-encompassing. It's so vast that you can have different points of view, you can have disagreements, and both of you be pure devotees. So I think, you know, I had the same experience. We had 10 color festivals scheduled throughout the year in 3 different states. And we do that every year. So we went to Los Angeles. The first one was in East LA. It's a park called Whittier Narrows Park. It's right downtown LA. Beautiful trees, a lake with swans, big chain link fence around the whole thing. It's like the 8th or 9th year we've done it in Los Angeles, but 4 years ago we moved to this spot. And it's right by the I-60 freeway. So on the park grounds, we can put up a big banner, and everyone on the second largest freeway in Los Angeles sees it. So we had it, and it was May 7th, March 7th, and March 8th, if those dates mean anything to you. So we had our first festival, and some people stayed away. Our crowd wasn't as big. Last year we probably had about 7,000 or 8,000 people, and this year we probably only had like 3,000 or 4,000. But it was over 2 days, and it was great. Everybody had a great time. I didn't encourage any hugs or any closeness. We were already practicing, so it was great. And then the next week, on March 15th, we had another festival in Riverside, and then 2 weeks later, we had our Spanish Fork Festival, which brings in more than $100,000 profit every year, and more. So we had the LA Festival, and then we Riverside. And obviously being so close to Riverside and Spanish Fork, I'd spent a lot of money on posters and advertising and social media and everything. So that Wednesday, we were staying in an RV park down in Los Angeles, getting ready to do Riverside. And that Wednesday, both the governors of Utah and California announced no mass gatherings. And just like that, Riverside was canceled, Spanish Fork was canceled. And then we moved Spanish Fork to September 19th and 20th. And it would have been a lot safer, I think, to do it as scheduled than it would be even in September now. I don't think it's still officially that date, but I'm not very confident. So, you know, the thing is that you saw it one way out of your sincerity. They saw it another way. But Kṛṣṇa is in the heart. He was in the heart of the governors of California and the governor of Utah, and that's what Kṛṣṇa wanted. That's what Kṛṣṇa wanted, to shut it down. And so we just have to surrender. You know, as long as you have a God-given mind and God-given abilities, and if you've invested advertising and you've got the performers and you've got airline tickets and you have all that invested, you want to move forward. You want to move forward. But as soon as the governor cancels it, then that's just Kṛṣṇa. That's just Kṛṣṇa. We canceled 10 festivals. In terms of earning potential, probably $200,000 gone. We also sell wholesale colors to 2,000 clients in North America and Canada for color runs and color festivals, gone. But I'm okay with that, because it's so far out of my control that there's no point in second guessing or gnashing my teeth. It's what Kṛṣṇa wanted. And for me personally, I mean, I'm doing more preaching, more online preaching than I've ever done before in my life, you know, because my time isn't taking up. I mean, making money is good. Supporting the temple is good. There's nothing wrong with that. But when Kṛṣṇa takes that away, he's given me something even more sublime and more better. So, you know, you were right and they were right. And then Kṛṣṇa decided it. That's all.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Very well. Bhadra.
Can I add one more point about these Rath Yatras? We had on March 1st, we had the bathing ceremony with the Snan Yatra, because our Rath Yatra start here in Florida. We had first Rath Yatra usually in January. And then in March, we had the Snan Yatra. And on March 14, I had a Rath Yatra in Daytona Beach. And before that, I had gone to the Phoenix, Arizona for some business purpose in Tucson. And from there, I knew that things are happening about this virus. So when I returned, and in March 14, I had to cancel it. The theater, I had to cancel around 7 or 8 Rath Yatra. I had canceled all Rath Yatras now. But the point is that Alachua is a big community. And when I cancel it, devotees were not happy with me. I said, why you cancel it? Nothing is happening. But I knew this is a virus. And there is this community, all the families are with the kids. And if one catches, then it's going to catch to everybody. So some devotees were not happy with me. But I said, whatever, I had to make the decision, because I don't want to have, ultimately, I'll be responsible for if something happens bad. So you get sometimes devotees' reaction, but I had a faith, because I had to just pray to Kṛṣṇa Srila Prabhupada, and I chant very qualitatively, please guide me to make the decision. I had to make the decision. So sometimes,
you know, there are ways to make it safer, but the problem is 20% of the people won't do that. They won't.
Exactly.
So it's not because of us or our desires or our arrangements that we have to cancel. It's because of the people who make everybody else unsafe by their self-centeredness.
Exactly. So now I have
this whole thing, arguably, and I don't want to get into politics or anything, but arguably, you know, this whole thing could be behind us now if everybody just cooperated with the health precautions. Instead, it's worse than it's ever been before.
Yeah, that's true. Now I have scheduled in September, October. Let's see how it's going to go.
Whether we can even have them next spring, you know. but the good news is we're devotees, and so it's so obviously up to Kṛṣṇa that we're not going to spend a moment being worried or scared about it, you know.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank
you, everyone. So any more questions or comments anyone has? Prabhuji, can you please share something about the temple? Like, was it like a new construction, or was it like you bought this property, or because this kind of construction is not unique in this country? So I'm always curious to understand how this came up. If you would like to share, it's off topic from the Bhagavatam, but if you wish to share.
I like festivals. Since I joined Krishna Consciousness, we've always done festivals. I like public speaking. I like communicating, especially to young people. So I like festivals. I like radio. So I was life membership director in Los Angeles, and I was renting radio time every week out of Pasadena. There was a block of timing for Indian shows, like from 8 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon. So we had the Krishna show right there in the middle of it. And I did that for 2 years, and it was very effective in rallying the Indian community and making them aware of the ISKCON temple. Life membership increased, attendance increased, donations increased. But I just came to a point where I thought, well, it's costing $1,000 a month just to have an hour a week in the Los Angeles market. So I wanted to preach more. So I thought maybe, a radio station, a full-time radio station, but you can't do that in LA because millions and millions of dollars. So I started to monitor the radio stations for sale section of Broadcast Weekly, and I found this radio station that was fairly inexpensive with 5 acres of land in Utah in 1981. So from having done our Festival of India concurrently with my life membership duties in Southern California, we had enough to put a down payment on it. And so we didn't come here to build a temple. We came to do radio, to do broadcasting. And KHQN radio is available not only here, but you can get it all over the world now. If you just download an app like Simple Radio and go to Radio Kṛṣṇa, you can hear it 24 hours a day, anywhere in the world that there's internet. So then finally we paid off the mortgage on the 5 acres of land, and there was another adjacent piece of land next door, another 8.5 acres. And it was even a little higher than the land on which we had our tower. So anyway, it's a long story, but we were able to put a down payment on that as well, thus making it 15 acres. And then we thought, well, it's going to take us 10 years to pay off the mortgage on the land. So maybe we'll start building the temple sometime, after the millennium. But as soon as the local Mormons heard that we bought land to build a temple, we got so much encouragement. Articles came out in the Brigham Young University student newspaper. Salt Lake Tribune did a feature article. The Deseret News did a feature article. It seemed like people wanted us to, just strike while the iron was hot and not wait. And so we didn't know where any of the funds would come from. There were no devotees. There were very few Indians. There weren't any resources in the area. But we just started. We only had $12,000 in the bank, so we announced we're going to build a temple. We had the groundbreaking in '96, started construction in '98, and it opened in 2001. Senator Orrin Hatch was here, senator from Utah. The fellow who's governor now, Gary Herbert, came. He was just a local politician in those days, but he came as one of the keynote speakers. A local businessman named Dinesh Patel helped raise funds from amongst the Indians and was very generous himself. So we opened this temple in 2001. And then, and this is a great tourist destination. We get 50,000 tourists a year. Great festival location. We get another 50,000 people come for festivals. 25,000 alone come for the Festival of Colors. We get 3,000 school kids come every year on tours. There are always yellow buses in the parking lot. They have lunch, they do yoga, they do kirtan. They walk the llamas around the property. But so this is a great out of the city, semi-rural location. But we always, as soon as we opened this one, I was looking for something in Salt Lake City. And in 2012, we bought a 4-acre property downtown Salt Lake City, a former school. It was owned by the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Had an auditorium, had classrooms, everything we needed. But we paid off that mortgage in 2 years. And then we started thinking about building a temple. And I think we started, I don't know, took 2 years, but the Salt Lake City temple opened in August of last year, and that's fully functional. So there are 2 temples. They're built in the Rajasthani style, right here in Utah. My wife got the original molds, the original carvings done in Mexico when we lived in Los Angeles. And then when we came up here, we brought the teakwood models with us. We contracted them out to a company that made molds, silicon molds, and then they made GFRC, glass fiber reinforced castings. So the whole thing is a process of molding and casting. Then when we went to build the Salt Lake City temple, those molds were still good, at least for one more building. So we used the same molds and same designs, but sort of configured it differently to give the Salt Lake City temple a different look. I don't know if that answers your question, but it's the brief history of 1 radio station, 2 temples, and a lot of festivals in Utah.
All glories to your services.
A lot of devotees visit. We have some guest houses. The kids love the animals. We have llamas, peacocks, parrots, 3 miniature cows. A lot of devotees visit. They stay for a couple of days. We're right on the way to Yellowstone. We're just on and off the freeway on the way to Yellowstone.
It shows, by your example, you're sharing that the bhakti is not just to sit and hear. Of course, that's a part of it. But after hearing is how we implement into action. And that's seen by yours and Mataji's sincere service and one after other in any city, in any situation. And so many youths you're attracting to Krishna consciousness and with these temples and the festivals. Thank you so much for carrying the legacy of Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity, spending time with all of you, Florida.
Thank
you, Sundari Priya, for introducing us all. We'll see you later. We'll see you later on this morning at our Salt Lake City Zoom call.
Right.
Busy sometimes,
we talk about the disappearance of Gopal Bhatta Goswami.
Yeah. And
plan to come sometimes to Alachua.
Well, when there's nothing to do around here, I shall.
I've never seen Charu Prabhu and Vaibhavi Mataji never do anything, even at this age. Believe me, even when one time he had an injury during the festival, he's at the hospital. He's like, make sure the show goes on, and he doesn't give up. Charu Prabhu's, I've never seen Charu Prabhu and Vaibhavi Mataji, even when they're extremely sick, they're still working like they're 20-year-olds because they are so dedicated to Srila Prabhupada's mission, and we're so fortunate to be under their shelter. Thank you, Prabhuji.
You're too kind.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for coordinating and inviting Prabhuji on our behalf. Otherwise, we would have been bereft of his wonderful association and example. So.
And especially if anybody wants to take personal guidance from Prabhuji regarding festivals and opening temples and setting up, Prabhuji and Mataji together have so much extensive knowledge. And he's so approachable, just a phone call and email. Prabhuji is always there for all of us, the next generation. And it's next 10 years, if we can tap all these things from Prabhuji, there's the Srila Prabhupada's disciples, we can really see that even in America, we can do impossible things with their inspiration.
And we're not going to be around that much longer, so we'd like to pass on as much as we can.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Okay, so we will like to express, so everyone can turn on their cameras and audios. We'd like to express our deep gratitude to His Grace Charu Prabhu for coming on this Sangha and sharing wonderful words, wonderful example about how we can choose to live with faith over fear. So we'll thank Prabhuji and express our gratitude by loudly saying Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Prabhupada ki jai. His Grace Charu Prabhu ki jai. Amveta Gaur Bhaktavind ki jai.
Jai.
Everyone, we will continue tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji.